So today we are going to discuss the transit of your Pluto squaring your Venus when you were around 18, 19 years of age. So your transiting Pluto was squaring your natal Venus in the sixth house in Gemini. Share with us what you remember happening that caused a greater awareness of a friction that you couldn't avoid.
Before this transit came along, I've been investing a lot of my sense of beauty in mathematics. I found that tremendously beautiful and spiritual experience. And I didn't really have much involvement with women or other, intimate connections. So I was like scholastic, and that was my sense of beauty. And then I went to university, and everything changed, parties, which I'd never been to before, and a whole new social life. So my sense I had of relating went through a transformation because I was at university. And when I was at university and away from my home, I started to realize the kind of relationship I had with my mother, and realized it was a little bit too much. It was a bit overwhelming. She was over nurturing. I was the baby of the family, and I think she treated me, you know, she didn't help me grow up. She tried to keep me to be her baby for a lot longer than was healthy. And I didn't really have a very adult attitude to relationship at all. And I didn't really make friends at university. I was quite solitary, and I didn't have a girlfriend at university, which everybody has a university girlfriend, but I didn't. Um, so that was the first start of it. Um, that I think I started to learn about poetry, and Leonard Cohen was a big feature of that time for me. So my sense of what beauty was shifted, and my sense of what relationship was shifted from being nothing to do with me because I was a mathematician to being a scary thing that I don't understand. I could see people flirting with each other, and I could see a game going on, and I didn't understand the rules. I couldn't play it. I mean, there was clearly a language, a flirting language that everyone knew, but I didn't know it, and I felt completely out of my depth in relationship.
So, do you think that this introduction to poetry was a way for you to get more clues of how to um, um, engage with your more feminine traits or the most feminine aspects of who you are?
Certainly, although I was a slow learner, but yes, that was how I started to understand something of what relationship is. Leonard Cohen was talking about this and nothing else in his songs, and the way in which he was talking about it really did move me deeply. And um, it was realistic and somewhat dark, and he was explaining the mystery as a sort of a bit of a scary thing that you can get hurt by. It wasn't as though he was engendering a great confidence in me to have a go. He was just saying, yeah, you're right. It's scary stuff. I mean, that was more the message I got. But yeah, there were others. I mean, John Denver, um, and his song was coming around that time, and Bob Dylan, Lay Lady Lay. All this is the music of my university days. And it was all about how to love and how to get it right and stuff. And I started to work out the principles, but I didn't manage to put it into practice very well. I left university relatively early, and when I was on the train going home to my parents to tell them I was leaving, I met a woman who was to become my wife, actually. So pretty much the first woman I ever met, I married, and she was the spitting image of my mother. You know, a terrible thing to do. And it went wrong. We were divorced within a very short period of time. But that was where I started at the worst end. I mean, I think there's a certain amount of an Oedipus complex going on somewhere in all of this as well. So yeah, I mean, the Pluto square of Venus set me up for one of the most difficult aspects of my whole life. I don't think I ever got it right at all in the end.
That was my questions, right? So how did you think that that friction, that relationship with women was a necessary step for you to move towards where you are now? But how would you actually really describe, let's say, the learnings, if there is any, in how you are relating to even women or the feminine aspects of that, and even in yourself?
Yeah, I think the point is that whereas earlier I'd been expressing my love through mathematics, that was a pure spiritual experience. And it ties in with this Gemini 26 winter frost in the woods. It's just like you strip everything down, you take away all the leaves, and you look at the essence of something. And that's what Mass was doing. And when I started to try and do that with people and say, look, who actually are you beneath all of your glamour and your games? And that was not a part of the flirting game at all. That was taboo. You don't get to ask questions like that of people, like who are you really? But I didn't want to know anything else. So later, when I fulfilled this need I have for love, it took the form of music and spiritual expression in dance. I really have the feelings. I mean, I can love and I know the difference between good love and that which is not good enough for me. I have a very pristine sense of what love means, but I don't find it embodied in a woman, It's it's in prayer and song and dance.
So what would you say love and transparency blend together? You still have transparency in your relationship with love.
For me, it does. The transparency is a precondition for me even to consider it. And that's not available in there. Well, I didn't find that available.
Yeah. Would you say though that at the end, how would you, I'd say like, how would you describe your evolution at the end in relationship to that in
Well,
few?
if you take women out of a man's life, the man is left with all the time in the world, a clear head, a little bit more money in the pocket than otherwise. Like it's not a bad thing to live a life as a single man. If actually you can come to terms with that. So I think I've become all that I am because I've had the time and resources and clear mind, um, freed from marriage and children and all the stuff that takes
Almost
that
like
away.
the evolution freed your creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I evolved into who I am because I didn't have to play family games. Happy families. I'm happy. Yeah, I think I did very well actually. There was a time when it was sad making, but I found comfort here and there. It's not as though I'm asexual, but it never moved into something which was a devotional commitment from me to make something work. I tried once or twice, got married again later, but that didn't work either. I'm a man who wants his freedom, and relationship and freedom don't really sit very well together.
Well, thank you, James, for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Loic.
Pluto square Venus. Our evolutionary process forces greater awareness by being at cross purposes with our sense of harmony in relationships. Relationships are now an area of tangible tension. Perhaps we realize that our loved ones are not on the same page as us anymore, and we are forced to reevaluate and readjust the values we have subscribed to and co-created whilst relating with them. These changes seem to be beyond our conscious control, demanding that we face the challenges and move forward with renewed or redefined commitment. Any new relationships that begin now are powerfully alluring and likely feature an intense attraction, but should be approached with a significant degree of caution. Are we truly connecting with someone based on an authentic understanding of who they are? Or are we indulging in our old trauma responses triggered by our addiction to excess and drama, captivating us yet ultimately producing toxic results? Power games, dependency, and unhealthy push and pull dynamics can characterize these initially romantic connections during a Pluto square Venus transit and challenge us to awaken to our inherent unconditional worth. Honest relations will endure. Dishonest relations will now be removed with great force. Our possessions and financial situation may also evoke some stress, forcing us to reevaluate how we relate to what we own. Do our money and our physical possessions legitimately express who we are, or do they merely serve a temporary purpose of expediency that requires an unreasonable degree of self-compromise? At its core, this transit is a serious encouragement to cultivate greater self-acceptance and re-examine who and what is of true value to us. We are called to truly value ourselves and base our self-worth on nothing but our divine, timeless worth as a cosmic being on a temporary journey through the material realm.